This is the Santa Susana Field Lab's Area 4, where the Department of Energy conducted nuclear tests for decades. This is a list of some of the buildings in Area 4 that were demolished, and you can see like some of them, for example, include this former uranium carbide manufacturing plant. They had a uranium fuel facility, they had a plutonium fuel facility, and these buildings are listed as radiological. Now, when you have something called low rad waste, that means it's not part of the reactor, right? It's not spent nuclear fuel, it's everything else besides that is radioactive. So the building that housed the reactor, the tongs that picked up the radioactive material and moved it, the suits that the people wore that were directly exposed to radiation, that's all low rad waste. That's the same thing with the buildings that contained some of this nuclear work. So that low rad waste is supposed to go to a low rad waste site. These are specific waste sites. There's only a few in America that are built with extra liners to make sure that radioactivity isn't seeping down into the groundwater. They're monitored very, very closely. And the idea is that this long-lasting, highly volatile material is somewhat in a safer place, right? It's not going to reach the groundwater. It's not going to blow into communities. It's watched. It's expensive. Here we can see that those radioactive buildings that were identified on the last slide, they weren't sent to these low rad waste sites. They were sent to municipal dumps. Some of this material, like plutonium-239, and they had a plutonium fuel facility at the Santa Susana Field Lab. Plutonium-239 has a 24,000-year half-life. It is so dangerous that if you breathe 1/millionth of an ounce, you are statistically guaranteed to get lung cancer. This is the type of just insane radioactive material that existed at the Santa Susana Field Lab. And even though we're talking about the low rad waste right now, it is still incredibly dangerous. That's why it's meant to be, isolated in these low rad waste sites. But instead, you can see that it was sent to Buttonwillow, McKittrick, Azusa, and Lancaster landfills. Right now, those landfills in California have radioactive waste from the Santa Susana Field Lab, and our government knew it. They knew it was happening, they let it happen, then we said this happened, and they didn't go back and solve it. 493 tons of metal were recycled into the commercial metal supply, meaning new schools that are getting built with new rebar. That rebar could have come from the plutonium fuel facility building at the Santa Susana Field Lab. We have 2,432 tons of asphalt and concrete were recycled. Yay, we love recycling, except for when it's radioactive, because the material stays radioactive. That means that new sidewalks and parks that are built in California, if that waste came from the Santa Susana Field Lab, it is still going to be radioactive in its new environment. 1,153 tons were designated in Class 1 landfills, designated for chemical, not radioactive waste. 568 tons were disposed of Class 2 landfills, designed for industrial, again, not radioactive waste. 242 tons were dumped in Class 3 regular municipal landfills. And the Department of Toxic Substance Control let this happen on their watch.